So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. Chrisland Schools has got to be one of the most famous schools in Nigeria, and I do not mean that as a compliment. It's quite saddening that they somehow make it to the news every now and then for all the wrong reasons. It's quite possible that they have great academic standards, highly qualified teachers, perhaps the best infrastructure. But somehow, lapses in its management structure has always led this school being portrayed in the negative light. And you know what they say about negative news? One single negative incident can invalidate years or even decades of positive impact. The first negative incident that made this school notorious happened in 2016. 47-year-old Adegboyega Adenekon, who at that time was a senior management staff of that school, a supervisor, heading the VGC annex of that school, sexually abused a 2-year-old baby, one of his pupils in pre-nursery, a child, a baby, an innocent toddler in kindergarten, left under his watch. He stole her innocence, the height of barbarism. During the time that scandal broke out, the parents of that baby vehemently accused the school of trying to cover up the incident and cover up the teacher, and that they were more concerned with reputational damage control rather than justice for that child. Well, that evil predator, Mr. Adegboyega, was charged to court, and the prosecution called 7 witnesses. And amongst those that testified against him was the 2-year-old baby herself. It was gut-wrenching watching that little baby narrate all the atrocities that Mr. Adegboyega had done to her. The judge, while delivering judgment, described him as a heartless, conscienceless animal who was not worthy of walking the streets. She admonished schools never to cover up teachers who were sexually molesting children, and also cautioned parents to be vigilant and not be carried away by the aesthetics of these schools. The honorable judge proceeded to sentence Mr. Adegboyega to 60 years imprisonment. I'll drink to that. The next major scandal that brought this school to limelight, negative limelight once again, happened only last year in 2022. Staff and students of this school had traveled all the way from Nigeria to Dubai to participate in the World School Games. And during that event, an indecent tape involving a pupil of that school in the course of wild intercourse with some boys was filmed and leaked online. According to the mother of this child, who said she was only 10 years old, her child was lured into a room by a male student. She was compelled to ingest a substance suspected to be hard drugs, and then she was made to make out with the boys one after the other while they cheered and filmed her in the act. It was a gory sight, a gory video, a gory story. I did a full video on that incident. I'm going to leave it right in the description box just in case you're interested in knowing about that case. And once again, this child's mother accused the school of trying to cover up the whole incident. She even went further to accuse the school of running a pregnancy test on her little child without her knowledge or her consent. This incident once again led to an explosive public outrage. People wondered, this school again? Where were the teachers? Why weren't the pupils supervised? Why does it have to be Chrisland College? What exactly is wrong with the management of this school? The backlash was so severe that even the government had to take action. The Lagos state government swung into action and closed down the school indefinitely, pending investigations. But not too long after, the school was reopened and learning continued. The report or results of this investigation, I am not certain, has been made public. So a lot of people were quite disappointed. Disappointed at the government's decision to reopen Chrisland. But what could they do? They kept their fingers crossed, hoping that that would be the last of it when it comes to Chrisland schools and scandals. But that is not the case. Only a few hours ago, a major scandal has broken out once again involving Chrisland schools. And this time, permit me to call it the worst of all incidences because it involves the the passing of a child. One Mrs. Blessing Adeniro took to social media to state that on the 9th of February 2022, only a few days ago, the school held their inter-house sporting event at Agege Stadium in Lagos. She narrated that she had missed that of last year, much to the disappointment of her child, who was one of the participants. So she made it a point not to only be in attendance, but to come early, which she did. According to her, she watched the first, second, third, and fourth match during the session, but didn't see her daughter perform. Couldn't find her daughter amongst the crowd. She said that in the course of waiting and wondering where her daughter could be and why she wasn't part of the participants, as she had trained very hard for it and looked forward to participating, she saw the school bus speed off at an outrageous speed, and she was wondering why a school bus should move at that pace when there were children around. Little did she know that her daughter was lying right in that bus, lifeless. So after the match session was over and she still didn't see her daughter, she had to summon up and moved towards the children area, the arena where the children were seated, because the parents were seated differently from where the children were kept. And when she went there in search of her daughter, she met a boy, and she inquired from the boy if he had seen Whitney Adeniro, her daughter. And there and then, the boy revealed to her that Whitney had fainted and had been rushed to the hospital. She dashed out like a bat out of hell, jumped into a vehicle, and began rushing to the hospital. When she located the hospital and walked in, she found her daughter, a healthy child that had walked out of the house with her 2 legs that morning after having a good breakfast. She found her first daughter, her first child, pulseless, lifeless, gone. She was pronounced dead upon arrival.
Her medical reports came in, it said dead on arrival. That was what her medical report said. When my husband came, he went in straight to where she was to pick his child and go to another hospital. He came in and met her dead. He screamed, shouted, "Desola! That is, yes, stand up. What is happening to my child?" My husband knelt down, crying, begging doctor, please help me. This is my first child. Imagine God must joy, shadow me. I cried. I begged them. I will sell everything I have for my child to be alive. The woman looked at me and said, "Madam, it is too late. Nothing can be done. She's gone."
According to Mrs. Adeniro, the doctor revealed to her that upon clinical examination, she suspects that her daughter may have passed from a cardiac arrest. But a visibly broken Mrs. Adeniro is quite doubtful of the doctor's assertion.
She was 12 October 30th last year, 2022. How does a 12-year-old have a cardiac arrest? No pre-existing medical condition, no pre-existing heart condition. She was hale and healthy. She was not sick in any form. If she was sick, I would never allow her leave the house. If she was sick, if she had even minor headache.
She has plenty of questions to ask. 1. How did a healthy 12-year-old girl with a normal weight, a normal BMI, no pre-existing health conditions or pre-existing cardiac issues, suddenly slump and die of a cardiac arrest only a few hours after leaving home? 2. She's curious to know that since her daughter didn't participate in that match past, that meant that at the point where that match past was being held, her daughter was already in distress. And that match past had occurred a while before she had gone to look for her daughter. So why didn't anybody inform her that her daughter was already in distress? Why wasn't she called immediately? 3. She is asking that if it was indeed a cardiac arrest that led to the demise of her daughter, why was her tongue, her mouth, her lips, and the whole of her mouth region black, looking so burnt? Is that one of the results or effects of a cardiac arrest? 4, which I believe is the most compelling of all questions. That was an inter-house sporting competition, an event that involved plenty of physical activities, an event which on its own had the risk of injury or fainting. An event that had over 500 children and over 100 parents in attendance. So why was there no emergency medical provision in place? Why did the school not make any medical arrangements in the event of any unforeseen contingencies? No ambulance on ground, no medical personnel, no first aid experts, no paramedics. None of them, as alleged by Mrs. Adeniro, were on ground. Why?
There was no ambulance. There was no medical doctor on ground. There was no trained personnel. Why was she drenched in water? Who poured water on her? What happened?
5. For a school of that standard, where children pay millions in fees per session, why are teachers and staff not trained on how to administer CPR in the event of such an occurrence? That should be a basic criteria or skill that every teacher should possess or be trained on, considering the nature and environment of their job. Mrs. Adeniro is asking why CPR was not administered on her child. She believes that assuming immediate intervention, proper intervention was administered, her child's life would have been saved. Why wasn't CPR administered? Rather, buckets of water was thrown at her child in a bid to resuscitate her. Why such ignorance? Why such lapse? Why such negligence? So here we are, once again confronted by another ugly incident in Chrisland schools. Could this be an unavoidable act of nature? Or could this be sheer negligence on the part of the school? Let me get your thoughts in the comment section. This incident is just unfolding and a lot of more facts will come to light. You can be sure that I will bring you up to speed as this incident unravels itself. If you're new here or if you're not subscribed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right down below. Join the channel, turn on your bell notifications, give this video a thumbs up and drop your feelings in the comment section. Stay glued for our next one. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye.
Biko, I'm on my knees and you can now. You're Biko. Pity me. Oh, I'm not asking for a protest. No. All I want is answers. I want to bury my child in peace. I need closure. I need closure to bury my 12-year-old. And the closure I want is answers. Finish. That's all I want. All I want is answers. Anybody that has answers, please. If you're a mother in Chrisland High or baby, let me ask your children what happened. Equally, I'm on my knees. If you're a mother and your child was at that stadium on the 9th, Agege Stadium, help me ask your child what they know. I'm on my knees, I'm pleading, I'm begging. Please help me. What happened to Omodesola Whitney Adeniro, my first child? Please help me.